Excuse number 6 that airlines use to justify why they don't take action on contrails. Air traffic control cannot support contrail avoidance. The air traffic control systems don't currently support the kind of rerouting required for contrail avoidance on a broad scale. Attempting contrail mitigation before ANSPs, air navigation service providers, are ready will lead to congested skies, to delays, safety concerns, and it's likely to take many years for them to adapt. What do you say to that, Paul?
So there's a range of issues here, right? So one is to refer back to the call to airspace trials, right? So lots of these queries in terms of how would ANSPs do this? Would it cause issues with congestions, any other issues? I think there is no way it's causing issues with safety, because in all discussions we've had with ANSPs, safety always comes as a higher priority on what they will do before they do lots of other things in airspace, including, for instance, routing aircraft efficiently today is less important than safety. And so ANSPs already are well aware and know very well how to do that. So I don't think the safety concern is real. But yeah, we don't know how much it's really how much congested skies can necessarily accommodate contrail avoidance. We don't know, and that's why we need airspace wide trials. It requires some new tooling in ANSPs. We have done some individual flight trials that already have the equipment to do that. We will take some development, some things, but this is not, as I say, there are some parallels with things like avoidance of turbulence. This is not sort of an entirely new recipe to ANSPs. It's an additional forecast that needs to be supplied, for instance, and to monitor and to make adjustments around. So it's not kind of reinventing ANSPs. There are some advantages with some of the modernization proposals and beyond the kind of modernization proposals that are in place in Europe, the UK, and US on airspace. So, increased vertical flexibility, for instance, would help. Free flight in some areas would help with contrail avoidance, or could help with contrail avoidance. So there are some adaptations that ANSPs can do. It is certainly the case that ANSPs could adopt some contrail avoidance effectively today on quieter routes. So it's kind of a question of how, the question here is really how far you can go without being an issue. The kind of wider implication here of kind of air traffic control can't cope, I think, is a really problematic excuse for airlines, because there is a much simpler solution, which is effectively what airlines are saying is the airspace is, the demand for aviation or the supply of aviation is just too large. Air traffic control can barely cope. So we can't add any complexity to deal with this enormous warming problem that we're causing. The easy solution would be then to reduce the amount of congestion by reducing the amount of flights. If we're genuinely arguing that we can't move aircraft up and down to avoid this very large warming problem because it's too congested, then we'll just have to make it a little less congested, and that will reduce the demand for aviation. That's something that airlines hate to hear. I have a lot more faith in air traffic control than that, though, because aviation's grown at about 5% through the 2010s. It's still growing at an enormous rate. It's projected to more than double in size in terms of number of flights by 2050. So our airspace is getting more and more congested, and somehow air traffic control still seems to manage to squeeze out some more efficiency year on year. So I think that we may have to invest more in air traffic. We should invest more in air traffic control anyway, from an efficiency perspective anyway, which would help with our CO2 targets. But I think this is an argument that really, to me, backfires on airlines saying that air traffic is just too congested. My argument, therefore, would be, well, we'll have to make it, if that's genuinely the issue, then we'd have to make air traffic less congested.